Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Overwatch Collective Podcast. Greg, Season 9, Episode 14. It's always nice having another fellow United States Marine on, specifically another 0311. So, Mike, how we doing? Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Greg. Appreciate it.
Of course. Happy to have gotten connected a few weeks ago through Doc Shauna Springer. You're a part of the Thinline Advisory Team with my wife, Robin Soye. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes here. But first, I'm going to give you a quick little introduction, then talk about Rust and Iron and our therapy statistics. So everybody, Mike was in the United States Marine Corps from 2001 to 2005 with two deployments overseas to Iraq. And then since then, he's been working with combat veterans for over 13 years. So continuing to help our brothers and sisters in the fight and work through their combat experience and all the trauma that may come along with that. So excited to hear a little bit more about you and dive into things. But first, mention our partner, Rust and Iron Clothing Company. Clyde is an active firefighter. Proceeds from the merchandise sales and all that are coming to the Overwatch Collective to continue to fund therapy sessions for our military and first responder community. As of last week, so at mid-October, we're at $306,826 spent on therapy costs currently. 2,975 therapy sessions, either fully covered or financially assisted. And then 279 people in our first responder and military community have gone through the Overwatch Collective nonprofit to get connected to our therapists across the country. So that's just a quick little update on us and where we're at. The podcast has like 175 episodes with 26,000 downloads. Nothing too crazy, but that's the quick update from us. But that's enough of me talking. Mike, if you would take it away, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were born, what made you join the United States Marine Corps, and then we'll take it from there.
Sounds good. Thanks, Greg. Yeah. Well, I was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. My parents were both working out there, and grew up though in Northern California in a town called Walnut Creek. Pretty nice place to grow up. Just as nice as it sounds. And it was a pretty relatively stable childhood, and played baseball, spent a lot of time out in the creeks, catching snakes and frogs and just being a boy. And I liked the idea of service, and I actually spent a lot of time with my church, spring break and summer vacations serving in Mexico, helping them build houses. Went down to South America, went to Slovakia a few times. And so I loved working with others, and I loved serving. And when it came time to do that full time, I was really heavily involved in my school's music program. I played in the band, and I originally joined the Marine Corps being the band. And I was excited to continue my music career and serve the country. And this is pre 9/11. So this is May 11th of 2001, where I signed a delayed entry program. Had to go to summer school because didn't do too well in my senior year. And then after that, 9/11 happened, and the world changed, and I went through boot camp. Did pretty well in boot camp. It was a big shock. First time I was actually homesick in my whole life, but those of us who've been through it know the drill. You get broken down and then built back up in the image of a United States Marine, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. Switched over to the infantry relatively soon after I graduated boot camp, and got stationed out in North Carolina in Camp Lejeune with the 1st Battalion 8th Marines. And yeah, we did a couple of deployments, one during the invasion, and then one 2004 to 2005, where we fought in Operation Phantom Fury in the Battle of Fallujah in November 2004. And pretty significant change in my life in terms of putting into practice everything I learned about, everything I trained up for, and then coming face to face with the reality of war. It wasn't just a game, and lost a lot of good friends came back after that 4-year enlistment, got out, moved back home, and I'll be frank, I struggled with that transition.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a very common thing in the military community, specifically to our active duty folks, and then specifically you coming like the last combat deployment was towards the end of your contract, so it's not like you had a year of time back like CONUS to actually get ready to transition out. It was Phantom Fury and then come back and then discharge essentially. So, and what was the hardest part about the transition out for you?
I think that a few of the hardest parts, one was that I didn't realize how much I'd changed. And I knew I was a Marine, and I knew there'd be some culture shock going back into the civilian world, but I wasn't prepared for how much it was different. I thought I could just go back to being a civilian. I was a civilian for 18 years of my life, and then came back, and I noticed off the bat that a lot of people didn't really keep up with the war in Iraq, and a lot of people didn't know it was still going on. And this is early on. This is like, I got out in 2005. So the war had been only going on for 2 years. And a lot of people had just kind of been going on with their regular everyday life. And here I was having this significant life-changing experience, and it was my entire reality. And a lot of people were like, oh, I didn't know that was still going on. And so trying to relate to other people was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see how that would be a complete transition. And so talking really quick about the combat deployments and being face to face with war and losing friends. So talk us through a little bit about that, like some of the major challenges there, and the psychological effect and the mental challenges of being on a mission, losing people, knowing that like, hey, this is the real deal.
Yeah.
And then still having to stay mission focused and continue to fight.
First time I lost someone was actually my best friend, Todd Godwin from Zanesville, Ohio. And he was another fellow Ginger, and we got along well. He helped me during my first deployment really train up and get in just elite shape. Love the guy. He was, a Marine's Marine and a great friend. And he got killed by an IED getting extracted from, he moved on to the state platoon, was a sniper. So he was killed. I got the news, and then almost immediately the mission kept going. We had to go back out on mission and patrol to the villages around Fallujah. This is before the big battle happened, and that was the first time that I realized this is for keeps. This isn't just some big adventure. People die, people get hurt, people come back different, or they come back, in a box. And I had to put aside all of my feelings and grief and emotion and focus on the mission that was happening right there. Just totally compartmentalize and stuff everything I was feeling, and that only compounded going through the battle. Later that deployment in November, and we'd lose people every couple of days, and it was a challenge. Really, the psychological toll started to really wear on me after we were clearing houses in the city of, I think it was 250,000 people, mostly evacuated. So it was mostly insurgents there waiting for us. We kick open doors, look for guys trying to shoot at us, and get them before they got us. And after a while, a month of doing this, my mind started going, how long can I possibly survive kicking open a door where somebody has the drop on me?
Yeah.
And come out on top? And that started to wear on me after a while.
Got it. Yeah, and I think it's one thing, like obviously we know, like with our first responder community too, like we compartmentalize and then we deal with it later on, which I feel like it's different for the first responder realm. Like we can definitely be more proactive. Like if you're in a combat environment, you may have to compartmentalize for a few months and then deal with it later and work on yourself, because it's like you said, unfortunately you lost your buddy, and then it's like, okay, now we need to punch out for another patrol. You're not going to, like you have to be on your A game. So a question for you, going through like the town, kicking down doors, knowing like, hey, somebody has the drop on me. if they're in this room essentially because they can set up a perfect defensive position and they know you're going to go through the door. Like what was that like for you and for some of the other guys? Like how do you enter that room over and over and over?
I think there's a lot of similarities with first responders and law enforcement. I'd say is that you look around at your guys and you've been training together and training together and training together, and it becomes a level of communication where you don't necessarily have to say anything. You just make eye contact and you know what your role is, and that eye contact establishes that trust of we are in this together. We're in this together and we're going through it. We have each other, and to do that alone would be impossible. It's impossible enough to do that with a team. But knowing that I had my guys' back, they had my back, was everything that helped us to keep going.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I appreciate you breaking that down a little bit. So after the deployment, you get back to the States. What was the transition out process like for you? Like before you got back into civilian life, I know we already kind of touched on that, but like the demobilization process, and then how were your fellow Marines going through that as well? Like, did it feel like just a check in the box? Were you offered resources? Was there time to actually open up the box where you shoved everything in and kind of work on that? Or talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, we got back and it was, our debrief was sponsored by Bud Light and every other kind of alcohol you can think of, just drinking and talking, sitting around and talking and drinking. And there was no unit kind of coming together besides the memorial service we had for everyone we lost. There was no coming together and trying to unpack what happened. It was just, hey, we're back now. Spend time with your families, a couple of weeks of leave, and come back, and we're getting ready for the next deployment. And for those of you who are getting out, as long as you're here, you're going to train up the next people. And it continued. And I noticed things. I mean, I was having symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder while I was still in, thinking I was seeing people around the corner. I was having that feeling that something bad was about to happen, and that cognitive dissonance where my mind knows I'm back in CONUS, I'm back in the United States and things are safe. But my body is feeling as if something bad is about to happen. I'm about to get ambushed. And just trying to understand that. I didn't even have the vocabulary to understand it. I didn't know what post-traumatic stress disorder was. I didn't know what hypervigilance was. I didn't know any of these things. I just knew that if I drank enough, that I could kind of tamp down what was happening in my mind. And that's the strategy I took. And luckily I'm still alive because, I did that to excess because it's the only thing I really knew how to do.
Yeah. And that's kind of the common theme, right? Is like when you're back in the barracks or whatever, you go train during the day and you come back and you drink, or you get a 96 libo, you get a long weekend and you're drinking. There's alcohol included in literally everything. Yeah. And it's like the easiest thing to access to kind of numb everything, to help you go to sleep, to help you kind of forget. And then you get on that just a continuous cycle of drinking and everything. So last question about your military experience and everything now. So with what you do now, the role that you're in, having working with combat veterans for over 13 years, if you were to look back at young Mike, what would you have done differently as you were like transitioning out?
I think I would have liked to have had just a space to have maybe processing the things I had experienced, without alcohol. Maybe not a full deep dive into therapy, which I got into later, but at least some tools of how to regulate myself and how to breathe deeply, how to get back into my body through physical exercise, which became a major and still is a major component of my life. Because when you're living in a projected future, or you're living in the past, which is, what anxiety and trauma will do to you, take you to the future or the past. you don't have time to be in your body in the present. But when you're sweating, you're working out, you're in your body doing something safe with an elevated heart rate, you retrain your nervous system to know that you are safe in your own body and you can function. So some of those tools I would have really have loved to have had that.
Mhm. Got it. Yeah, and do you feel like people are getting that nowadays? Like fast forward to 2025, do you feel like that's happening or starting to be implemented?
I think so. I think that it's a slow rolling wheel, but the idea that people can come back with post-traumatic stress has largely, I think, been destigmatized. I think there's a part of it, though, that hasn't been, and that's this is something that happens to an individual who's put in, um, who's having a normal reaction to an abnormal situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if someone comes to have post-traumatic stress disorder or any kind of post-traumatic stress or survivor's guilt, it's still seen somewhat as, a character defect or a flaw in the individual. And so people want to hide that and say like, no, I'm good. Whereas, you think if you were to compare it to if you broke your arm or your leg, there's no shame in that. You just go to a doctor and you get it
Yep.
set, casted, and it heals.
Mm-hmm.
But to say like, hey, I need some help with this, some of the mental components and emotional components, that's still seen as a failing.
Yeah, got it. Got it. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think things are starting to get better. We're starting to
Mm-hmm.
normalize everything a little bit more, which is great. And there's more conversation around it. Obviously, there's podcasts about it, other nonprofits and all that stuff. And I think eventually it'll hopefully get to the point where it's so normalized that people can be like, yep, I'm experiencing that symptom. Then they can
Yeah,
go get
yeah.
the resources and then they're better off for it. And the organization too.
Yeah, I think the one component that really it hinges on is that if people get mental health support, they talk to somebody. I think deep down, at least I worried about it, and the guys I know worried about it, is that we'd be pitied and that it would turn you into someone who is essentially combat ineffective
Mm.
if you got mental health support. It's like, no. You just need to get things set so your body and your brain can process these things so you can move forward and continue to be a badass and do the work you're going to do. It's not turning you into a hopeless, broken person who just needs a hug and a blanket. It's not that at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and specifically, I've heard like some of like the special operational units, they have a plethora of resources
Mm-hmm.
at their disposal, and they have therapists and they have a bunch of resources, like I said, that are there for them. And if they use it, it's like, hey, I got to make sure I'm on my A game. I got to be the best for my team. I got to make sure I come home to my family, and that so they clear their head, but they have it pretty damn
Yes.
normalized, and they have a shitload of resources. So,
Yeah.
uh, so I think it's a great thing for them. Um, so kind of want to transition into physical fitness. So I mentioned, or you mentioned, physical fitness and how that's helped you and everything. And I know that now you're doing the Ironman triathlons with the lovely United States American flag that you're carrying
Mm-hmm.
and honoring the Gold Star family. So I want to spend a few minutes touching on that. So take it away. Tell us a little bit about how you started, and then
Yeah.
a little bit about it.
A good friend I've had lifelong, my friend Chris Alexunas, he's a firefighter, and he knew that physical fitness was a way to keep your mind right. And for my birthday one year, he gave me a registration to a half marathon. And first I was pissed. I didn't want to do it. I thought it was stupid. What kind of present is that where you have to work out and get in shape to
Yeah.
do the thing?
Mm-hmm.
But I did it because I didn't want to wimp out. And so in a good way, my ego was harnessed and I started training and I found that I loved it. It was that memory of, oh, this is what it's like to feel good in my own body and feel okay and feel optimistic and hopeful and alive and feel that vitality and that zest for life again without any kind of chemical affecting my mind. I didn't need the booze or the cannabis and the other drugs I was doing. I could just feel good naturally through exercise. So I did the half marathon, loved it. I had a Vietnam vet that got me into open water swimming. Loved that. Same kind of process. I thought I'd hate it. Got into it. Loved it. I was swimming in the San Francisco Bay. It's in the 50s. It's cold. And you need a wetsuit unless you're a real go-getter.
Yeah,
And so, oh yeah, I got hypothermic a couple of times, and so let me stick with a wetsuit. And then I was in Hawaii on a vacation once, and the Ironman World Championship was happening, and it was the perfect collision of what I was doing with my next step. And there's something about it, seeing these individuals, go for 140.6 miles on their own power through swimming, running, biking. And I saw a video shortly after that vacation of a woman named Lisa Hallett, who runs and started an organization called Wear Blue, Run to Remember, where they run to honor fallen service members. And
yes. So let me interject and sorry, stop
yeah,
you for
go for it.
We did an event at Salesforce in San Francisco, and they were there and set up a booth. That's how I got connected to them.
Yeah.
So that's awesome that you awesome. Okay, cool. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together.
It's so cool, isn't it? And when you meet positive individuals who are taking tragic situations and finding silver linings and finding hope and moving forward, it's so fun to gel and connect. And I saw that she was honoring her husband. She was actually at that race. I didn't run into her then, but she ran the Ironman World Championship in honor of her late husband, John Hallett. And I broke down and I was like, this is what I need to be doing with the survivor's guilt, with the trauma. And so I started doing a lot of my processing, in the rooms of therapy, talking to a therapist, but also just things would bubble up during a run, a memory. Things would happen where I reminded myself, or I was reminded of, this is some intense stuff I saw that I didn't really have time to process at the time, because one firefight to the next. And, I got into honoring, I have 29 names of Marines I served with who either died during that deployment or died in subsequent deployments or as a result of taking their own lives. And I was like, I got to honor these guys. And it was my step forward. And so the physical fitness journey for me was through Ironman triathlon and long distance running. It helped to really solidify that I had a purpose and a path forward, and to make sense of what I had seen. It's almost impossible to make sense of the chaos of firefights or combat or high stress situations. And this is my path forward. So I took it.
Sweet. And how many have you done so far? How many triathlons, and then when's the next one?
I'm doing, let's see, I've done 4 full Ironmans, including the World Championship in Hawaii. I've done, I think 18 or 19 half Ironmans. I've lost count. I've done a bunch, some self-supported, some mostly Ironmans, actual races. And then, a bunch of the sprint and Olympic distances. Next thing I got going on is Marine Corps Marathon, actually this coming Sunday. And then the next Ironman I'll be doing is a half Ironman down in Oceanside that goes through Camp Pendleton, which is pretty cool. In March. Yeah.
Do you go through like some of the O courses and everything?
We go through, we go through right where the School of Infantry is and the bike course. And so you ride your bike through Camp Pendleton, up some of the bigger hills and all around. I wish I could tell you specifically where I went through. I know it goes to the main side at the end, but Camp Pendleton is still a mystery to me, mostly since I was mostly at Lejeune.
Yeah, you were on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good luck with them. Good luck with them hills out there in Pendleton.
They're real, dude.
Ride through Pendleton and everything. It's like I'm sure it's very nostalgic for a bunch of the service members that were stationed there to now be doing the like running or biking through whatever part it is. Just to go through it. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's good. I love it.
Yeah,
man. I love it.
Yeah, very nice. And then really quick, physical fitness and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
It helps.
It tremendously. And I think I touched on it briefly, but when one is having a flashback or symptoms of post-traumatic stress, the heart rate gets elevated. There's energy in the body swirling around that it doesn't know where to go. And so, you fight, flight, or freeze. Those are the combat or the stress reactions that we have. And so if you can place yourself in a controlled and safe environment in which you're elevating your heart rate and you have somewhere with the energy to go, then you can take control of that. And then you can have some agency, and you're not just taking on symptoms and feeling helpless. You can process them on the go.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's always important to bring up how much physical fitness benefits the mental health aspect as well. And obviously, when you're in and you're waking up at 05 to go PT, you don't really think about it all. You get the hangover, but yeah, it really does help. And I know that's one of the things that, like, obviously we want to stay fit. We may not all like working out, but it's a part of the profession, part of the job, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a free resource. Go out and go for a 3-mile run. You're going to come back and you're going to feel better about yourself, and you're going to forget things. And sometimes, like for me, it's the only thing that I can do where my mind stops spinning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you focus the energy, it goes out through your legs, your arms, your body. And if it's not running, which we're all familiar with running, it can be a slog. Maybe it's getting on a bike or a stationary bike. Maybe it's doing a class, lifting and doing some aerobics. Maybe it's going for a hike, doing something you actually enjoy, putting the two together.
Yeah. Just know, like, not 50 pounds or anything crazy like that.
Yeah. Self-paced. Yeah. No Marine Corps pace where you're having to touch the pack of the person in front of you, trying to do like 15 or 13-minute miles. And
yeah, you don't need any of that. I always say when people are like, "Oh, I don't want to go for a hike or anything," the military ruined that for me. I'm like, bro, come on, like, go for a hike. You just bring a water bottle, bring a Camelback with you, go walk, enjoy nature, touch some fucking grass. I don't know.
Exactly. Take it back, man. Take it back for yourself.
Yeah. So, I kind of want to jump into the therapist part now and the transition from service to then being like, hey, this is something I enjoy, the mental health, being able to help X amount of combat vets that you've assisted, and getting into the profession of being a therapist. So can you kind of talk through about that transition, and then we'll kind of go from there?
Sure. I was at the Diablo Valley College, just a local community college where I lived. And I was taking classes and things that interested me, but I had no focus. And working at a VA vet center, my therapist there said, you know what? I know you like, to be of service, and you like working with other veterans, because I've been doing that, peer counseling thing on the side for just volunteering. And she said, what if you did this for a living? What would that be like? And it clicked for me. I was like, I could help vets, and I could be a model of what I'm doing that's working, and help people navigate there's just a tricky system of readjustment back to civilian life. And so I got my degrees, got my bachelor's and master's degrees from, a college out here. And I started working for the VA vet centers, and did that for 13 years, and was really happy to be able to connect with other vets and give back in similar ways that I had received, and it really hinged on this, though. I was not going to go to therapy. I was not going to talk to somebody. I thought it was stupid. Therapy's dumb. I'm a man. I don't have emotions. I'm either pissed off, I'm okay, or I'm bummed out. Like, those are my three kind of things. And I discovered it didn't take away from who I was, and only enhanced who I could be and who I was, if I was able to kind of talk about it and learn how to self-regulate. And so I had a Vietnam vet, though, who brought me to a vet center and said, hey, you look like I did when I got back from Vietnam. I'm going to take you to a place where it's okay to talk about it, and it's a good place to be. And I only went because I trusted the guy. Only went because of that. There was no other reason. I was not going to go to therapy, but I was going to do it because I respected the guy and tell him at least I tried. And it worked. That's the thing. but it hinged on that trust of someone else I knew who had gone through it to be able to try it.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think, like the buddy system, right? You go as pairs everywhere, but also I think this is the really cool thing, and obviously have been doing the podcast for a while, when we see veterans or first responders that have gone through it, now they come on and they talk, and then people listening to that podcast, listening to them speak in front of a group of X amount of people, are like, wow, he or she went through that and now is getting the help, gets
Yeah.
connected to them, and they're like, hey, I got you, we got your back, I'll connect you to this person, this resource, this
Mm-hmm.
therapist. And then they go and it's like, dude, yes, like this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that transfer of trust is so big in our communities of veterans and first responders, because we see stuff that we can't talk about, with our families a lot of times, with the general civilian population. We see things that we can't just bring up in conversation at a party, usually, without getting a few weird looks. And so the trust is everything. The trust is everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you go through all the schooling.
Mm-hmm.
You said you got your master's, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And then become a therapist.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
And
license in what state are you licensed in?
I'm licensed in California. And
Got it.
so I've been doing that for 13 years, in my 14th year of being a professional therapist, working with other people. And that's the thing is what I love too is when I work with people and they're like, you're not what I thought a therapist would be like. And right, I think a lot of us, here's the stereotype I had of a therapist: someone wearing sandals who would always just say like, oh, thank you for sharing that. Oh my God, that must have been so hard. How are you, you poor baby? And, I'll listen to some things with men and women I'm working with and say, that's rough. That's rough. It's like you got through something really rough. And, but I'm not trying to coddle anybody. I'm holding space for whatever they experienced. And I'm acknowledging the sacrifices they made and the difficulties, and say like, look, I understand my experience, and I think I can understand some of what you've gone through, but you've had your own experiences that I will never fully understand. Let's just try to make sense of what you went through, and more importantly, what's important to you, and what do you want to be able to do in life? What's holding you back? And finding a solution, not just looking at like, oh, this is something that limited you and stopped you, you'll never be effective again. It's like, no. I've taken the combat stress and the survivor's guilt and all the difficult things in my life and use that energy to propel myself to something that's important to me. It reminded me how much I value life now. It reminded me how much I care about other people, because I walked in the dark for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's do that for you.
Yeah. And how much does it help, do you think, like with your experience in the military, being a combat veteran, and kind of ensuring people that are sitting across from you or virtually understand that, like, hey, I've been through it too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like you mentioned, like, hey, you may have gone through a different experience, somewhat similar, but you may have reacted different. But this is kind of what I've experienced. So then it like makes them feel like they're not alone, and that it's
Yeah.
okay for them to react differently.
Yeah. I think what I really try to do with people is say, you know what? Who we are is we're different. We react to situations differently. We do the best we can. I never want to get into a comparing my own experiences to other people to make them feel less than me or in any way. I just want to say, hey, here's the common ground we have. Here's what I've done that works. You're not alone. You're not going through this by yourself. I understand what it's like to come home or get off a job, get off a mission, and be like, no one in my everyday life understands what I've gone through, and feel that kind of alienation or that feeling of being lonely in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's connect with other people who get it, myself being one of those, and let's figure out what other people are doing that and what you can do in this situation to better yourself and become the person you want to be despite all these challenges. Let's make that energy work for you instead of limit you.
Got it. Yeah. And then guide them to hopefully a successful
Yeah.
route and end state.
Mm-hmm.
So really quick, if people are listening to this, kind of something I like to do is like what does therapy look like with you in addition to what you've already said, but uh, in person, virtual, do you do consultations? Are you currently accepting new clients, and how's that process kind of work for you?
Mm-hmm. I've got a lot of space to accept new clients. I'm no longer the VA, so I'm doing everything virtual right now. At a certain point, I might get an office. I'm always up to meeting people for coffee because I like that face to face, right?
Mhm.
You know, so they can say like, "Oh, this is an actual living person, not just a person in a computer," right? So, love to shake hands, and yeah, I'm taking new people, and therapy with me looks like a couple people talking about, "Hey, here's some difficult things that happened, and let's try to make sense of that. What are you feeling? Let's get you back in your body, right? Like what is it like to be sitting here right now experiencing this?
Mm,
What can we do with this energy that is within your value system, right? You know, whether that's finding a creative outlet, whether that's doing just some physical fitness, whether a combination of both. But I'm really big into finding what works for people and not having a one solution fits all kind of approach, because we're all different. We all value different things, and we all come from different walks of life. And I'm I really take that into account.
all right, cool, sweet. And then obviously the Thinline Advisory Team, you're a part of the Thinline Advisory. Like I mentioned before, along with my wife Robin, and Doc Shauna Springer, kind of spearheading the whole thing. So um, I have yet to do a podcast about the Thin Line Advisory, either with Robin or with Doc. But can you kind of shed some light on it? Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about it and what it means to be a part of the team.
Yeah, so Doc Springer, she's an amazing person, and just someone who, when you meet her, you know it immediately she cares.
Mm.
And not in a you poor baby way, but like, look, you gone through some shit. Let's figure out like what we can do here. And really smart, really capable, and it'll be a great interview when you talk to her. And what we're doing with the Thin Line Advisory is working with law enforcement, fire departments, and working with their leadership teams to help them create their own system of either wellness or their own system of how they handle difficult things that their departments come across, whether it's losing someone in the ranks to suicide, whether it's losing um, someone out in town, and processing that in a way that helps them be mission effective going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think it's a great thing that is being put together. I'm excited to be kind of know a little bit about it more than
Mm-hmm.
most. Obviously, since my wife is a part of the team as well, and then being able to help connect departments to Doc or to you guys essentially to be able to
Mm-hmm.
connect the two. So I'm honored to be able to assist wherever I can. But I think it's a great um, there's a great mission behind it and helping out the higher ups and the chain of command and everything, because I feel like that's where it starts,
Yeah.
from the top coming down, and a lot of people lose confidence and trust in the chain of command and the chiefs, the deputy chiefs, battalion chiefs, all the officers, So I think to get some voice of reason in them, some training and everything will just only benefit the community.
Yeah. And no one learns this stuff. I mean, some individuals come up with things that work, but it's not part of the system of what we know in a chain of
Mhm.
command of how to handle these situations. It's usually just put your head down and keep going. And that works in when you're in combat. It works when you're, high mission tempo, but it doesn't work long term.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, creating the space where we can do that and help people be at their best is it's awesome. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it definitely is fun. I'm excited to see it continue to grow as well, and just see how many people um, it'll help and benefit in agencies and all that. So, sweet. So, as we kind of start wrapping it up, where can people find you? How can they get connected to you if they have any questions?
Sure. I'll put my email out there. Is probably the best way. I mean, I'm on social media, just Mike Ergo. I'm happy to talk through there. Email is mike.ergo@gmail. And then I'm launching a website pretty soon, but I'll get you the details on that later. But the best way is email for right now. And I'm always down to have a conversation to see like what's going on. Um, Here's who I am, so you know I'm an actual person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can look up, is this, because I think that's important, right? I can talk a cool game right here, but am I actually doing anything to back that up?
Yeah.
Or am I just giving speeches? So I want people to feel like this is someone I feel like I can possibly place trust in. I want to be
Mhm.
worthy of that trust and not just say, hey, take my word for it.
Yep. Got it. No, that makes sense. And that's a nice thing too about um, the podcast that we have, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
is like our goal is essentially, and this will take years, but is to have a podcast attached to every single one of our therapists.
Yeah.
So when they go on the website,
Love
no
it.
matter what state you're in, they can see our contracted therapist. And then in addition to looking at their Instagram, their Facebook, their LinkedIn, going to their website, you can actually hop on and listen to a 45-minute podcast and be like,
Yeah.
I'm going to take a few days, actually listen to them talk, listen to what therapy looks like with them, listen to their prior experience. And in my opinion, it it increases the success for that first therapy session, right? Because the last thing that we want is our community going to therapy and finally taking that big step to go to therapy and then having a shitty experience, and then being like, oh, a bad
Yeah.
place, I'm out, and then they're never going back.
Yeah.
So I think doing the podcast with all of them is pretty important, and it gives people a chance to listen and kind of be like, okay, after listening to Greg's episode, he's freaking weird. I don't want to work with him. I want to work with you
Right.
know. Um,
Hey, and
so that's
we're all different, right? Because people gel with certain people and not with others, and it doesn't make them bad people or good people necessarily. It's we have just different personalities. I hope I'm for a
yeah,
lot of people. Maybe I'm not for some people, and I don't take that personally. Like my only agenda when I'm working with someone is give them the best services I feel they're entitled to. And
hmm
if it's not with me, I want to find that person for them because
yeah,
I love seeing that happen. And I've taken my ego out of it as much as I can to say like, maybe I'm not the answer for some people. That's okay. But I think for a lot of people I could be, and
yeah,
I want them
and
to feel that.
yeah, and I think that's the right mindset to have, and I always appreciate hearing that from people when it's like, "Hey, I might not be the best match for you, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not just going to continue therapy with you knowing in my head I'm not the right match, and I'm not going to challenge you and help you progress just
Yeah,
because you want the money or whatever, you know."
exactly.
Um, yeah, we try to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, it's good. It's good policy.
Yeah. Um, Sweet. So if there's nothing else, there's one more question that I have from you, or for you, is our motto at the Overwatch Collective is one more is one less. So it comes from another combat veteran who lost more friends to suicide upon return stateside than actually overseas. So after losing more friends to suicide, and he came on the podcast, he was like, "Hey, if we can help one more person normalize mental health, get them the resources, it could be one less suicide." And then that's where one more is one less kind of stuck. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's on the back of our t-shirts, our challenge coins, stickers,
Yeah,
all that, right? So now at the end of every episode, we ask our guests what one more is one less means to them. And that's how we wrap up our episode. So no rush at all,
yeah.
but would love to hear what one more is one less means to you.
I love that. I think what really hit me when you said that is one more person that we can help is one less person that's going to be either a victim of circumstances or sidelined in life
Mm.
or not living up to their full potential and enjoying life. Because one thing firefighter and Air Force veteran Rob Verhelst said to me, he's another Iron Man guy. He said, it's okay to be happy. He told me that. Because I thought that my life, since I'd had these circumstances and these situations that I encountered that were really difficult, I thought that I needed to approach life through just continue to do it, but suffer through it. And he said, it's okay to be happy and find circumstances in which you're okay and enjoy life. And I want that for everybody. I want everybody to be able to enjoy life and not just slog through it. Because service to others, it can be fun, it can be fulfilling. And how we serve others is different for everybody. But finding that way to give back can be fun and inspiring. And it doesn't have to be just, I used to have this picture in my head of services, picking up cigarette butts in the quad and police calling and just, you had to be miserable, right? Far from the truth. It can be fun. It can be really something that gets you going in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. And you're doing good for the community and everything. It's not just being online, police calling fucking brass left and right, but a different kind of service, and it's helping the people, and that's why we truly called it like the Overwatch Collective, because we do believe it's a collective effort to continue to serve our military and first responder community and everything. So no, I enjoy it. I'm on the same page with you, brother. I'm on the same page.
Awesome.
Sweet. So that kind of wraps it up. Season 9, episode 14. Obviously, I will put everything in the podcast notes for how people want to get connected to you. And if they can't figure that out, then I will text you and introduce you, text message, introduce you guys, whatever the case may be. I appreciate you sharing everything about your combat experience, the military, what you're doing now as a therapist, the Ironmans that you're doing. Good luck with the Marine Corps Marathon. And I know we got the Marine Corps birthday coming up in, I think it's 18 days, 250, baby.
250, man.
250 is a big birthday. Big birthday.
It's a big one.
Yeah. So sweet. I appreciate you coming on. This wraps it up unless you have anything else.
That's all. I appreciate the time, Greg. Thank you.
Sweet. Of course. All right, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed season 9, episode 14. God bless America and Semper Fidelis, Mike.
Rah.